Hi, this is Sarah. I'm continuing my series of Behind the Dedication, this time with Love and War in Woodhouse Hall. This book is dedicated to my friend Yvette. Yvette is no longer with us. She passed away about 8 or 9 years ago. But she was one of the most important women I've ever had in my life. Because of that, I felt it was important to dedicate Love and War in Woodhouse Hall to her. So, to help you understand who Yvette was and why she was so important that she got a dedication, let's talk about her. As I mentioned in my Unraveling Carrie Woodhouse dedication video, I lived in this small city called Fitchburg, Massachusetts for 6 years. It's poor, it's north central Massachusetts. They were an old mill town. And as the industry left, the mills were abandoned, and the city's socioeconomic status plummeted. It was never a really wealthy city to begin with, and there are a lot of reasons why it's not doing well, and there have been many attempts to help them recover. None have necessarily worked. And as I developed Lecoq, Massachusetts, the university and city that are featured in Love and War in Woodhouse Hall and Unraveling Carrie Woodhouse, and will be the center for many of the books coming up, I was inspired directly by what I knew about Massachusetts and Fitchburg and Lowell and the universities there. Yvette has not yet inspired a specific character, but dedicating a book to her was important. The dedication says, "To the friend I found when I needed you the most, you were missed." So I met Yvette through Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a public speaking organization, and I joined for the opportunity to meet people and for professional development. I'm really good at talking. I wasn't necessarily good at communicating. You probably have heard my ramblings. They don't stop. Yvette didn't join until I had been a member for about 3 or 4 years. But I remember the night she came to her first meeting. She was the extrovert's extrovert, the center of attention extrovert, who had a lifetime of experiences. She had just retired from being a psychiatric nurse, and I was fascinated and ready to hear her story because she hinted at a few things. What had Yvette done in her life? She had been a beauty queen. She had been crowned Miss Fitchburg when she was a young girl. Then she became a flight attendant with Pan Am in the heyday of flight attendants. And she had traveled the world seeing these things. She had consulted and acted in soap operas as a nurse since they were looking for professionals to help advise them. Like, she would tell stories like, what is a stethoscope and how do you actually use it? But keep in mind, this was the 50s and 60s when TV was new and audiences didn't always know what to expect. She became a psychiatric nurse after a lifetime of travel and a marriage that fell apart. But she had her son and her family, and she came back to Fitchburg, which is where I met her after her retirement. And she, too, was looking to meet new people, find something to do with herself, figure out her next steps while she had the time and the energy. And I remember the night we left the meeting, she called out as we all wandered through to the parking lot and giggled about things that had happened. We had a friendly group. It was a nice group of people that I enjoyed, and she was going to fit right in. And she yelled, "If anybody ever wants to see a movie, just let me know." And I thought, I could see a movie. I was just beginning to get comfortable going to movies on my own, but also having money to go to see movies, even alone. But the new Harry Potter was coming out, and I wanted to do the midnight showing with another Harry Potter fan. And she had loved Harry Potter. So we went to a movie together. And I will never do another midnight movie because even in my early 30s, mid 30s, I was not great with staying up that late. Surprisingly, I am a night person. There's just something about having to get up the next day for work that just didn't work at all. But at the time, it was a great thing that we did, and we had a ton of fun. We went and got dinner beforehand, And this was the beginning of something we did regularly. We knew we could count on each other to see a movie with the other. So we saw movies, and eventually we would have dinners and lunches and brunch. We would get together, we'd go on adventures. I could always count on Yvette to be willing to just get in a car and drive. And we quickly learned we had different perspectives on road trips. She was let's just drive and see what the world delivers to us, and we'll just stop randomly. And I was I have a destination, we're going there, and then once we're done, you can go where and do whatever you want. We took a road trip one summer. We got out early in the morning, drove to Western Mass, saw the Yankee Candle flagship store, multiple museums, Tanglewood. We just drove around Western Mass through the Berkshires. She wanted to stop every 5 seconds to see a roadside stand or go river rafting at one point, but I had a plan. Sometimes we did just randomly stop. She would be in charge and we would do what she wanted. But over the years, we got very comfortable as friends, to the extent that I think she forgot that she was my parents' age and she wanted to meet them. And I had to remind her, no, you really don't. You're fine. Unfortunately, when I moved to Lowell, things got different and difficult to stay together as friends. It was harder for us to just jump in the car and go out on a road trip. And she was more than happy to come here, but I was also working on a master's thesis at the time. And my focus went to that. And I'm one of those people that when I have something I need to finish, the blinders go on and I focus on my project till it's done. So we stopped speaking. But when I was done, I promptly called her to see what she was doing. But she didn't pick up. And she didn't call back. And about a year later, I found out what had happened. Just before I started to focus on the people around me again, Yvette had hurt herself, broken her arm or a leg or something. She had broken something and ended up in rehab as a psychiatric nurse and a very confident healthcare professional. She thought she had the right to decide her make her healthcare decisions. She didn't agree with the doctors and the nurses at physical therapy. And it seems that to regain control of her, they used drugs. She was not the kind of woman who would have responded well to that, from the women I remember. And unfortunately, that was the beginning of the end. And the person who called me was calling me to let me know that she had passed on and to come to her funeral. And I missed the chance to say goodbye to her face to face. But I also know there's very little I could have done. I'm not sure if I would have had the chance to say goodbye, even if I had been focused on her. Nobody called me. Nobody let me know. She would have been the one if she had been there mentally to say something. No one else would have thought of it. And so I missed my chance to say goodbye. But I got my chance to honor her and dedicate this book to her.